How do you do, GPot crew? It's your nutty buddy Putty here, and welcome to what I call the vault. Anyway, what is the vault? The vault is, well, content that I never put out. And there's two videos that I did with both Johnny Donuts 777 and Campo over at RLG one will be posted later, which is my state of Marvel video that talks about what we think of Marvel's at in 2023, which I will be talking about that in that next video. And then, of course, there's this one, which is our Battle Locked episode. It's a game show. I know what you're saying. What the heck, a game show? Yes, this was a game show that I invented that I set up for them. I put some pizzazz into it, had a setup and everything. And then I never uploaded it. Now, why did I never upload it? Well, around this time, and it's funny how this happened. This actually came out around April 22nd. This is the actual date we recorded. It was April 22nd, 2023. And for those of you know, back in May 5th is when I started my weight loss journey. Started going to the gym, met somebody. Fortunately, it didn't work out. But Battle Lock got put in the background because it was supposed to be something that actually I was gonna put a lot of work in. I had like lights I was gonna have on there in the corner. Each camera was going to be zoomed in. Like I was going to put so much detail into this Battle Locked episode, and it turned out good. We talked afterwards and decided, maybe we should change some things that kind of nature, and redo it again eventually. But I was still supposed to upload this. Now, again, I didn't because there's a lot of cutting I'm going to have to do and a lot of editing that I would have to do. And it was going to take me hours upon hours. And now we're coming on almost a year since I made this video. A year, April 22nd. We are getting close to that. And it's not really going to have the same flavor, especially if I decide to do a new one where I may not even have it edited wise, just go straight into it. And so with this is going to be the uncut, never before seen Battle Locked first episode. Consider this like the pilot that no one ever gets to see. This was our pilot episode of Battle Locked uncut. So if there's anything of us discussing something, first, I hope I didn't leave anything in private in there. And if I did, Johnny Donuts, Campo, tell me in the comments below and I'll delete it and re-edit it. Just make sure you tell me where it's at so I can edit it out. But other than that, guys, this is going to be uncut. It's not going to have any edits. It's not going to have the zoom ins. It's going to have everything. I'm even thinking about leaving in the stuff that the beginning of where like we don't know what's going on here, that kind of thing. I don't know. I'm gonna do a little bit of editing probably, but just the editing of the beginning. The whole show itself, good. I'm gonna keep it the way it is. The beginning will probably cut off and the end will be cut off. So I'll have to go through all and clip out things and everything. I'm just gonna let it be. So if at one point in the video I say something like, oh, I could just cut this out, probably not gonna get cut out because I'm not gonna go through all that. There goes my phone ringing like Sonic the Hedgehog. Anyway, guys, and that actually, I think, do we have that? I think we put that Battle Locked question in there. Yeah, questions. Ooh, Sonic's involved in this. There's a lot of things involved in Battle Locked, guys. And I can't wait for you guys to finally see the pilot episode of Battle Locked, which really is the only episode of Battle Locked, unless you guys really love this and want to continue. But that's the reason why I did this intro. So I want to thank y'all for watching this and welcome to the vault. Battle Locked, the pilot episode. I hope you all enjoy. Peace. One. Ladies and gentlemen, what happens when you pit two of the most knowledgeable geeks out there in the world against each other? Ladies and gentlemen, you go into a lock-on battle. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Battle Lock, the first game show in the RLGPot community, or RLGPot community, where we pit two of the coolest guys ever that know the franchises they know and find out what's better. Or
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
We got two people here. First off, let's start with Johnny Donuts, JD 777. How you doing, brother? Do you know what we're doing here today?
Absolutely no idea.
And of course, then we have Campo from Campo Reviews, RLG Cast. Welcome, Campo. Do you know what we're doing here today?
Yeah, we're gonna yeah.
Exactly. I agree.
They know the knowledge. Here's what's going on, guys. So this is how this works. There is going to be options here between two franchises that are well known and competing with each other. You'll both have the option of randomly picking one where you guys can debate whether you want to say pick one or the other, where you can switch. So basically, let's give an example like Coke and Pepsi. You guys have the decision to pick one envelope or the other one and then debate. Now, if you both feel like, hey, Coke's the better product, there's no debate, then we could go to the variable. Yeah. Say it's Dr. Pepper. And then you guys can decide, does it compete with Pepsi? If not, then it's a lockdown. There is nothing else. Pepsi is the best. But if we get into a debate and you
Coke.
both are competing, then you can eventually bring in the variable and say, hey, is it worth to even bring in the variable, or are we just going to have a lockdown and we have to let the viewers decide? That's how this game show works. This gives you guys the opportunity to talk about your favorite franchises and everything else. So to start things off, I'm also going to allow rules to be changed and let you guys modify it because it's just a fun debate. So if you guys feel like you think we should modify anything, please, within the thing, do it. It's fun. But I'm not sure. We'll let Johnny Donuts pick the first one. Pick one set out of the 4 that you see here, and then we'll pick from there.
All right, let's go 3.
3. So 3, I think, is right over here.
Other side.
Yep. Okay. All right. So the way this is going to work with 3 is we have 2 envelopes, A and B, and we have the variable. So Johnny Donuts, you get to pick A or B.
B.
B. All right. So that means, Kempo, you have got A. So since
Did you look at it to see which one I had?
Yeah, exactly.
It's A or B. He has B. You have A.
All right. So
A.
Campo, he got DC. All right. So which means you probably know what's in this one. Okay.
So
Image Comics.
well, wait till
Boom
later.
Studios.
All right. So, and then of course we have Marvel as the competing. Now, let me explain how this works, guys. You guys can take any medium you want when it comes to video games, comic books, action figures, everything. I want to know creative design, characters, special effects, and adaptation. And then the last, adaptations being the last one, and then overall. Basically, between you both, like for example, since you have a DC Campo, do you feel as a franchise that DC holds better ground in being more well known in the world, or do you, Johnny Donuts, think that Marvel holds that key?
So are you asking us this question?
Yes, it's just basically.
Okay, I think it's easier if you prompt us, because if you're just going to ask me to go off the hook, it's crazy. Well, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to go all over the place.
Okay, so I'll go first.
Go ahead, go these two first.
I do think that in an aspect, for argument's sake, that DC is more well known, maybe not as a company, but Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are probably way more well known than anyone in Marvel, period, except maybe Spider-Man. And I think that alone holds weight. I think you can almost ask anyone in the world who Superman is, and they'll know who Superman is.
I kind of have to agree with you.
Okay, so then since you actually said that you agree with him, do you feel that you would lock down and say that DC is overwhelmingly better than Marvel since you have Marvel in your place?
No, absolutely not.
Ooh, so do you think Marvel is actually better than DC? Do you think?
No, I'm not saying that either.
Oh,
certain aspects of certain companies are better. You take animated movies, DC is highly superior.
Right.
I don't want to make an argument for you, so I'm not going to continue.
Well, it's true though.
I mean, Marvel doesn't really make animated movies.
Right. Okay.
Spider-Verse is pretty good.
Yes, but we all know what happened with What If.
That's true, but that's a TV show.
Okay, it's still animated.
Okay, so are we switching sides? We've just officially switched sides.
I don't know. But I mean,
no,
you
can be DC.
Let me finish my thought, because Marvel started the MCU, and that started the whole ball rolling for the superhero franchise. It was one of the Spider-Man was really, like, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was one of the first superhero movies. Because of that, we got Iron Man, and because of Iron Man, we got the MCU. So in terms of cinematic features, I think Marvel has had the edge in the last 15 years. I'm not saying this is a superior company, but I say they've had the edge. They've also canceled a lot of books in the last 10 years. They've canceled the X-Men. They've canceled the Fantastic Four because of the fact that Marvel didn't own the rights to them and Fox Studios did. So they canceled those comic books so other companies couldn't make other products for them so they can get the rights back. So I'm not saying either one is better. It's like, telling a parent to choose between their kids. I don't have any kids, so I really don't care. But
these are his kids.
These are my kids, and you can't ask me to choose between a kid.
Nice. Well, I'll choose between a kid, and I will say that DC has a far superior animated universe, not only just with the movies, but also with the TV shows. They also have a better... I won't say better, because recently it's been different, but I think they are the ones that put live action superhero stuff on the map. Yes, Incredible Hulk and that stuff existed, but Batman 66 was far better than any of those shows. And then the modern superhero shows like Arrow and whatnot were far better than they should have been. Not to mention in the comic books, which I have spent a lot of time reading comic books, DC is like, it's not even close.
Green Lantern is still one of my favorites.
Well, you guys
just picked up Animal Man #1, 9.6.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, let me ask you guys this. We haven't got a chance to bring this in, so I'm going to jump in and say, because Campbell brought up earlier, and we haven't got the chance to do it, but with you talking about Marvel, of course, talking about DC, they both have, great movies, great animation, great video games. It always still stems from comic books, you know what I mean? So, of course, that's what this genre is about, all media. So, of course, Campo had to be a little bit predictable in understanding which one I picked for the variable, but why couldn't we make it just Image? So my point to the question is this, guys: if Image had the opportunity,
I said Image.
Sorry, you said. Continue.
But if Image was to get an opportunity to make their own animated cinematic universe or movie cinematic universe, if done properly, do you think they have an opportunity to compete against Marvel and DC because they're properties that people don't know about? I mean, what do you guys think? Is that?
I mean, they like do because they do for the one thing. So I'm confused now. Am I arguing for Image?
Well, no, you can compete for it, but the thing is
okay.
What do you guys think about competing with the other things where they have an opportunity?
I think Spawn is massive. I think a lot of people underestimate the popularity of Spawn, and that he was the catalyst of an entire generation of people starting to read comic books. I think if you do that movie right, it could be really well received and could be good. They also have a lot of characters.
One of the biggest franchises, arguably, of the last 10 years was The Walking Dead, which is an Image product.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could dig deep for a while.
One of the greatest graphic novels out there right now is Saga.
Yeah, and Manhattan Projects would be a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Man of War. Wait, that's Valiant.
That's Valiant.
Yeah.
Savage Dragon.
Yep. Gen 13.
I don't know if they still have Wildcats anymore, but
no, they don't.
I'm sure Jim Lee would want to work with them if they did, to let them have it, because it's an original Image thing. It's just they own the rights to their own stuff, right? That's why making movies in Image is hard, because everyone owns the rights to their own thing, so you have to convince them to give up rights.
I would like to see can you imagine a Gunslinger TV series?
Yeah, that would be great.
Well, that's the other thing too, is at least if they can make the movies. I'm not even looking for a cinematic universe. I'm just looking for content as far as superhero movies. You know what I mean? Give us something new. The content's out there. Just go back and look at it and make something. You know what I mean? And I think that's what we're missing. Is I feel like people are so, there's too much Marvel, DC, the whole movie, comic book superhero movie thing. But the thing is, I think it's just we're so used to these same characters or that same format. Give us something that may be a darker universe or just darker movies in general. And I feel like Image may have that opportunity to do that. Does that make sense? So that's the reason why I felt like it was a good variable.
So does Marvel. They can do dark with Blade.
Exactly.
They have a whole dark universe.
So does DC.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I get it, but they're not utilizing it. And again, I feel like Image would just be that target for them. Does that make sense? Like they don't really have the kid.
Well, here's an issue that I'll give you. And first of all, is Chew Image?
No.
Chew's not?
No, I don't think so.
What is Chew? Dynamite? No, it's not Dark Horse.
Yeah, I don't know what Chew is.
It's about a detective that he has to eat pieces of the people to get their memories. He's a cannibal.
I can't remember now. Oh,
I have no idea.
Anyways, irregardless.
Yeah.
So I think your issue here is that if you look at it a movie like Bloodshot, for example, that should have been the general idea of what.
Isn't Chew independent?
It might be. I don't know. We'll figure this out.
Jesus.
You Google it. What was we saw Bloodsport, okay? And the way that Bloodsport played out, that should have been what
Bloodsport's Van Damme.
Bloodshot, sorry. What Putty's wanting from Image to do, and I think they came out, they released that, and they already screwed up potential for a lot of independent.
It is a subsidiary of Image.
Yeah. So they, I mean, they didn't go super hard R. They played it weak. They didn't get a really strong cast in, and that already sets a tone for independent companies trying to make it. You look at this now and you're like, do I really want to do that? Even if you look at Green Hornet, right? With Dynamite. Dynamite has a lot of really good properties, but are you gonna do like they could have the Shadow? They can do oh my gosh, I'm forgetting all their names, but they have such a
Don't they have the Phantom?
The Phantom. Oh, they have all the pulp characters, right?
Yep.
And the Spirit.
The ones that were like in comic strips, and a lot of comic strip type characters too. The ones that were in those Sunday comics,
And I think you've already, with those two failing, you've kind of put a damper on the whole chance for independence to begin with, especially in the adult, specifically in the adult genre.
Well, I feel like Hellboy might have been the only exception to those rules. I mean, of the original Hellboy movies, I feel like those are the exception to the rule.
But those are also just kind of fine.
Yeah.
They're not like amazing. They're good.
Well, yeah, understandable.
Not the new one.
So
no, that was doo doo.
So are we to basically say we're basically just going to say draw on the DC Marvel, and it's just not competing at the moment? Am I correct?
I think if you spread out all mediums, regardless of the amount of profit they're pulling in, if profit is the argument, it's different. If you're going to go, how are we doing across all mediums? Comic books, TV, animated, movies. DC wins 3 out of those 4. DC also has far better action figures right now. And Marvel went the whole route with having windowless boxes, so you can't even see what you're getting in your box anymore. So
I didn't even know about that.
Yep.
Quality right now, I'm going to take DC, but I don't think DC is the bigger company at this point.
In terms of money making, no, it's Marvel for sure. But yeah, I agree. And Image, it's a whole different. It's a different sport at this point.
Yeah,
that's when it becomes a variable.
They're playing Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, they're AAA baseball.
Making money. They're making a lot of money, enough to easily survive, but they're not pushing out numbers enough to like draw a huge fan base.
Well, that's how this works, guys. You always
think of Impact. Go check out our review of.
Okay, let's go. Let's let the people decide. So Marvel will win.
Yeah. So we'll let the people in the comments decide between.
If we're up to someone, they'd just choose one character, right?
Yeah, I know exactly. That character's not here, but anyway. So with that being said, let's move on to the next one. Campo, since you didn't get to choose, pick one of the set of envelopes.
2.
So that's right. It's right here.
Nope,
it's right there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Wrong one.
Okay. You almost had me on that one too. All right. So Campo, since you picked A or B.
Me?
Which one's going to make you have to think what the other one is? B.
A.
Oh,
all right, good. We did that together.
All right. So, Campo, I'm going to open up yours first.
He even sealed them. I feel this is really luxurious, this show.
Oh, I went all out for this, guys.
Red tube.
Nice.
Categories for another time.
All right, Campo.
Oh, no. I already know he's going to give this one away. I feel like he's going to give this one away. For Campo, you have Sonic.
Okay. Am I allowed to see the other one, or I have to give away or keep?
I'm guessing the other one's Mario.
No. You're gonna show. I'm gonna show it, and then if you guys want to swap, you can. Or if you just want to be like bucket deadlock, they both lose.
I one think loses. That whoever turn it is to pick, the other person should be allowed to switch.
Okay. Again, that's why I've made this game the way it is. You guys pick the rules. That's why it makes it fun. So with that being ruled, there it is.
Armor.
So, how do you guys want to play it out then in that way?
I'll stay with Sonic if you don't want to switch with me.
Let's go.
All right, let's go. So all mediums are available. That means like the comics, everything for all these are available for both of you guys. So good luck. First off, let's see this. Right now, we know in the movie theaters, someone broke a record, okay? Which is it beat Mario in the movies when it comes to that business. So we know Mario is the first one. It had a competition with the 90s. As far as the growth of other mediums outside of video games, do you feel, Campo, we'll go with yours first. Do you feel Sonic has had a better pacing when it comes to Mario? You know what I mean? When it comes to getting to that kind of medium.
I don't know how to answer that question. I'm going to say if we're going outside of video games, I think Sonic is a lot better.
Those comics are badass.
They have multiple different comic series that have ran for years, which is already a leg up because Nintendo has no comics, at least not North American based. And I think also in terms of television shows, I'd rather watch any of the Sonic cartoons over with anything Mario put out. And in terms of, just to keep going here before I let JD talk, both Sonic movies were like head and shoulders above the Super Mario movie.
Ooh. Interesting.
Agree with that.
No, stop agreeing with me.
I'm sorry.
My God.
Like, yeah, I have
it.
to agree. Like, I love those songs. Like, I still have a bunch of those Sonic comics, like from the early 90s. Like, in terms of exposure, that was Sega striking while the iron was hot with Sonic. And yes, I agree. But in terms of gaming franchises, though, Sonic, other than the recent, most recent Sonic Mania, and what was the one that just came out? The new Frontiers?
Frontiers, yep.
We've had some pretty bad Sonic games.
Yeah.
And in terms of gaming, I would have to give the upper hand to Mario. Mario, like, it's hard to find
it's not even close. That's why I didn't ever fight that battle. So
but I mean, it's again, once again, it's comparing apples to oranges. If you're going strictly on sales, it's Nintendo head and shoulders.
Yeah, but I think if we're gonna keep this argument going before I ask for the variable, I think it's kind of like my Spawn argument that I made before, right? You'll never be able to take away what Super Mario has done for the genre of video games or whatever, but Sonic is a specific jumping off point that defined an entire generation of gaming kids. The PlayStation kids, the Xbox kids, they're from the Segas. Like, not that Nintendo people don't go that way, but the edginess of it speaks directly to what Sega did. They stole Sega's marketing, they stole Sega's ideas, and I think just for that, I think it's memorable enough that it belongs in a place with Mario, though I admit the games are not the same.
But I mean, as far as iconic characters, yes, I would have to.
They're the two most.
Yeah, like
more than Link, like
Link, yeah,
no,
maybe
more than that. Like Sonic is pretty popular, right?
He is. No, absolutely. People would probably if you ask 10 people and you show them a photo of Link, 6 of them probably would say that that's Zelda.
Exactly.
They would all say that's Zelda almost, probably, except one guy.
So it's like, and if you show them a picture of Samus, they wouldn't.
Metroid.
They would just say Metroid. Exactly. They would. So in terms of like characters, but you show them Luigi, you show them all the characters in that franchise are distinguishable. They know Bowser, they know Peach, they know Toad, they know all the characters.
In Sonic, it's mostly Tails and Knuckles Tails and Sonic that will.
You don't know Big Cat or Amy,
even like Knuckles doesn't. But it's like I held up some on a picture and they were like, "That's Solid Snake," and I'm like, "No, that's my penis." Then you get the point, right? This is the greatest show you've ever made, buddy.
well, since we're here talking about big, you know what I mean? Anyway.
Since we're here talking
Please tell me it's Bonk.
Well, see, the thing is, I was thinking of smaller ones before, but I figured we had to go with the big ones, and I hate to say it.
Commander Keen.
Campbell's been pretty JD. Well, no, wait. Who gets this one? I think Campbell gets this one. I can't remember now. I'm bad at remembering things. But yeah, I put the variable as Crash Bandicoot.
You mentioned the PlayStation, yeah.
Yeah, because of the PlayStation and me messing up my stage. And anyway,
okay,
because of the but yeah.
So, but he's still suffering from the effects of 420.
I don't think Crash Bandicoot beats either one of these. I think every one of us will agree. But I also want to point out again, like Sonic, Crash Bandicoot was the edgy choice of an entire new generation of gamers.
It launched a completely brand new console.
Yeah. It launched a new style of
Spyro.
platforming. It was completely a new thing. He became a mascot. He's still one of the most memorable mascots. I'll absolutely give him that.
And now Xbox owns him.
Yeah, and there's a movie coming out and a show, I think.
I think so. I think there's a Crash animated series, Crash Bandicoot animated. And once the deal goes through, I know it's been 2 years now, but once the Activision deal goes through, they're already saying they're working on Crash 5.
Wicked.
Xbox.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, let me ask you this then. When I'm making these variables, I also think about what other would see as variables. Like, for example, you just mentioned Bonk's Adventures, and I agree. TurboGrafx 16, Bonk's, that was their people. What would be some of the other ones? Like, for example, I thought 3DO might have been Gex. Like, what are some other variables you can say? That
I said it already, Spyro.
What was his name? Alex Mack?
Alex Kidd.
Alex Kidd?
Yep.
Alex Kidd. Alex Mack was the show.
Alex Mack.
Secret World of Alex Mack with Alyssa, whatever her name was. I was literally in love with her. Like, in 10 Things I Hate About You, that's a whole nother story. But anyways,
wasn't that Julia Stiles?
Julia Stiles was the sister.
Oh, okay.
There's so many, man. Like you can go Xbox, right? Like
Rachel Lee
technically,
Cook every day, any day.
yeah. I mean, yeah, she's all that.
Well, I know with Xbox, they were trying in the early days to do the Viva Pinata as theirs because
They always leaned into a more adult mascot though. Now it's like Gears of War guy or Master Chief.
It's Marcus Phoenix or Master Chief. Now it's his daughter or Kate. What's her name? Kate Diaz too is part of that franchise as well.
But this also goes into a later possible episode of things because here's what I'm talking about. The reason I picked these three core is because they're more on the animated side. When it comes to the more adult-oriented thing, I would throw in like Halo going against Kratos or Master Chief going against Kratos when it comes to those more adult.
Sony and Xbox don't really have a lockdown mascot. Xbox more than Sony, but
yeah,
Sony kind of is just up in the air.
They got Sackboy, they got Nathan Drake, like
they
roll through a lot, right? And Xbox is more streamlined that it's basically Master Chief most of the time.
True,
but
yeah.
Nintendo has a lot, right? Donkey Kong's its own thing.
Yeah.
Link is his own thing. Samus is her own thing.
Well,
you can look at Castlevania. I mean,
the Belmonts.
The Belmonts are pretty popular. Final Fantasy, Cloud.
Yeah.
But that's PlayStation.
But I'm saying just naming popular characters that are like faces of
a company, yeah.
So is this going to be basically just like the Marvel DC one, kind of a lockdown on this one as well?
I think so.
Sonic and Mario. Well, again, it means that in the comments we need the viewers to decide what is it going to be. Is it going to be Mario? Is it going to be Sonic? Maybe even Crash Bandicoot. You guys decide, and we'll discuss it in the next video. If this goes well, we will definitely announce the winners in the Simon Belmont, exactly. So with that being said, let's move on. Johnny Donuts, you get to pick the next envelope.
Let's go number one.
Number one. All right. So number one. Of course,
you remind me of Vanna White.
Well, the problem is I need a Vanna White to stand here. Anyway, all right, same thing, Katie. A or B?
Let's go A.
All right, A. So you got B. So we'll open up yours first. Oops. Already confusing things. You know what? You can rip her like that, make it easier. Do it like who was it?
Should have had a letter opener.
Yeah, right. To make it fancy. I'll get one eventually. So for you, you have Warner Brothers. Which means
it's Yakko, Wacko, and Dot.
Well, no, it's all Warner
Brothers and their sister, or just the Warner Brothers. Everything
against Disney. Now, understand this.
Ooh.
This is everything. This means old cartoons, that their impact when it comes to that. Bugs Bunny versus Mickey. I'm
gonna throw my hat in the ring here immediately.
Do you guys want to keep?
No DC. No Star Wars, no Marvel.
Oh,
yeah, good.
Okay. All right.
So I mean, you can't go wrong here. You got Bugs Bunny, and I just want to say something. Out of Bugs Bunny is basically where we get almost all of our modern animated cartoons because Steamboat Willie, whatever.
Yeah, the slapstick comedy.
But I mean, it also spawned an entire change in the way cartoons happened in the 90s because you had Batman the Animated Series, which I'm not going to count that obviously, but coming out of that, you had Tiny Toon Adventures, you had the Taz the show, whatever it was called,
Animaniacs, Pinky of the Brain.
Yeah, a whole new form of animation came from Steven Spielberg and Warner Brothers working together using the properties from Mel Blanc's voice and like all of the stuff that they did with the Looney Tunes. And I mean, everyone knows Sylvester, everyone knows Daffy Duck, everyone knows Tweety, everyone knows those really shitty shirts that they made in the 90s where they look like gangsters.
We're Bugs and Taz were leaning back to back on the.
I had those shirts. What's great about the shirts is they also had the sports ones where you have like Taz on the front, like he's wearing like a Bulls jersey. But what was great is if you look on the back, you literally had the same picture, but it was the back of their backs on your back.
See, so like marketing.
And I'm sure everybody's dated a girl with a Tweety Bird tattoo on her ankle.
I mean, no, I haven't at all. But
I guess you never met Joshua.
You don't want to go there. So I'll leave that alone.
You're gonna leave it alone, but I mean, you're arguing for me. I'm the one who had Warner Brothers.
I had Warner Brothers.
Oh, did we just get that all confused? Oh no.
Wait,
I
was
had
I
Warner.
my Disney?
You're
I already,
Disney.
I already threw it over
Okay,
there.
so
Okay, you
Well,
know what?
That's just
No,
a
good. We'll go with this. I'll take
Well,
Disney.
you guys swap. You guys swap.
Disney
There you go.
pretty much. That's fine. Disney pretty much invented animation in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Like they took a concept of fairy tales and other stories and literally brought them to the big screen to a mass audience that had never seen something like that before. The rotoscope, the whole imaging of the actual cartoons, something like Fantasia, which was well beyond its concept. You know, if you understand what I'm trying to say,
it was
like
way ahead of its time.
Ahead of it, exactly. So, I mean, if it wasn't for Disney, if it wasn't for Mickey Mouse, there may not have been a Bugs Bunny.
I mean, and that's fair to say, but as we move down the road,
Even though everything was stolen from Fleischer, but
that's true. The
well, don't tell me that's the variable.
Huh?
The reinvigoration of the animated genre in the 80s and 90s is purely derivative of the Looney Tunes. And I
But
think
then again, in the
especially
80s
because-
and 90s, you had Aladdin, you had the Lion
That's
King,
right.
you
Okay,
had
but we're
Beauty and the...
talking movies. If we're gonna talk movies, Warner Brothers was there too. Let's talk about Space Jam, the greatest movie ever made. All right,
The
It had
original
Michael
Roger
Jordan.
Rabbit.
It had Michael Jordan. It had Newman, and it had Bill Murray. I rest my case.
Well, understand. I did.
We're not
tell you
talking
guys
about the
it was
LeBron
across all
James
medias,
version.
though. So,
But then again,
so-
you also had Space Jam with LeBron James.
Well, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. It doesn't exist.
But I
But I
Anyway.
mean, Warner Brothers has Harry Potter. That's one of my favorite franchises.
Yeah, well, Warner Brothers has Harry Potter and The Matrix. Okay, they also at some point,
But now Disney, I think,
probably
has
were
Doctor
friends
Who.
with Lord of the Rings. Doctor Who. Okay, you win.
So then, are you guys? Is this going to be the same thing with all the other ones that they're just that same competing? You think?
It's
Or
like I mean, I like the concept. It's hard because, like you said, you're trying to tell people to pick between two children, and we can.
I don't have a children here. I don't give a shit about Disney. I will absolutely beat that down, but I can't. I can't because
every time Warner Brothers came out with something, Disney had an answer for it.
Disney also has Pixar, which just beats anything.
Toy Story, yeah.
Oh, is that what's in that little thing? Go ahead and open up your variable.
It hasn't come in there. See, the variable is another. See, the thing is, I was hoping you guys would pick your mediums also through maybe television as well. Other mediums that have like big properties.
Yeah, but you're expecting me to remember what shows Warner Brothers
made?
No,
but that's what I'm saying.
Years.
So there's a lot there. There's a lot there. So when I thought of this, I was thinking more big business, like has big movies and they're competing companies. So when you think Warner Brothers, Disney, then what's another competing company that's huge out there? Like New Line, theme parks and everything.
Universal.
So why wouldn't you put Universal as the variable in that situation? Am I right or wrong? Based on their properties.
I would. I think that though, when you look at the big picture, and you say to me, "Hey, name something to me that's Universal," I could tell you Universal Monsters and literally
Back to the Future.
Else.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't even know that, so that's already one. I like
Back
for
to
me,
the Future.
remembering what studio fronted a movie is like impossible. I remember Disney because Mickey Mouse. I remember Warner Brothers because
The Magical World of Disney on Sunday afternoons.
Yeah. Like I don't remember what companies made what movies live action. Right now, it's so hammered in. Oh, it's Marvel, so it's Disney.
Yes. And that's the funny thing that you guys are saying that, because when I was doing this and everything, I was thinking about all those. When it came to getting the variable, like when I did these, I wanted to make it much bigger, but I knew when it came to picking Disney and Warner Brothers was the capitalization of having those mascots in the forefront. When you think of Warner Brothers, you think of Bugs Bunny. When you think of Disney, you think of Mickey Mouse. Can you think of anything else? Exactly. Can you think of any other company that does more than just TV movies and just has basically franchises?
Well, Universal Studios are far better theme parks than the Disney theme parks. You have Jaws there, you have the Simpsons there. I don't know how they have the rights to the Simpsons, but they do. They have
the Wizarding World.
They have Hulk. They have a lot of
stuff.
No,
Hulk. They don't have the Marvel Islands of Adventure anymore. That's gone.
I was there 2 years ago.
Really? It's still there? I thought that was gone.
Yeah, it still was there. They had Spider-Man, a lot of Spider-Man stuff, a lot of X-Men stuff. I think because of the rights situations, Universal kept those. Anyways, that's regardless, okay?
I digress.
I think that if we're going to talk about company, Universal trumps both. Warner Brothers is
Really?
struggling right now, despite properties.
Mhm.
Marvel is about to hit a point where it's do or die. If the next movie's bad, I promise you they're not going to make nearly as much money anymore when movies come out.
See, I would
Star Wars
argue
is
for I would argue for Paramount in that too.
Star Wars already on the cusp.
Really?
But before we argue that, Universal Comcast is a far. I mean, you could look up the net worths. I believe
Viacom, yeah.
Viacom Universal Comcast is worth a lot more than Disney. They offered to buy Fox in cash.
Wow.
Fox, the only reason Fox sold to Disney was because Disney was willing to let them keep the
Fox News.
Fox News and the Fox Sports. So that's why. And Disney paid them all in collateral and stock. None of it was liquid
Assets.
Which means they're going to make more money as it goes along too, as the company grows.
Yeah.
Eventually,
So, yeah.
right? But the thing was,
Yeah.
Universal was offering you whatever it was, like $25 billion up front. Now you can, I'll wire you $25 billion.
Oh wow! I didn't know
Yeah.
Universal. See, here's my thing.
Disney Liquid is not worth nearly as much as a lot of other companies. All of their stuff is tied up in assets.
Well, that's the reason I want to bring up this. The reason I brought up this variable and the whole situation was this. When it comes to me, mass taking in,
Debating.
media or entertainment, you're not anyway, anything of that nature. The one show I still watch, even though it gets a lot of negative thing, is because I like the atmosphere. I like that they let the people do it. But my thing is NBC and their shows primarily like SNL. It's still there. It may not be making
Universal
money.
has NBC. I forgot about
exactly.
that.
Yeah, that means they have WWE, which soon maybe. Did you hear about this one?
Disney Plus.
No, it's going to Warner Media. Warner Media
is going to have AEW
and yeah,
WWE?
Yeah.
Whoa,
there's talks
crossover.
about there's talks about getting Monday Night Raw over to TBS or TNT.
Crossover time.
So that is going from Universal.
Oh
to
no, Buddy's about
Warner.
to do it. It's AEW versus WWE. I want B.
A or B?
I want B.
You want B? All right, let's open up.
I got A.
All right, here we go.
Oh, I see what he did. He opened up the other person's first. That's how I thought I had.
Okay.
So
I get WWE. Okay.
Yes.
That means you
gets WWE.
You get New Japan. That's the variable.
Come on, MLW.
And
Impact Wrestling. AEW. Okay.
All right. Let's go,
that
guys.
leads from our last one to our current one.
Okay, but I'm gonna end the last one as you guys vote for it.
Oh yeah, we do have to get a vote on that one. Yes, yeah.
I admit defeat personally, but I'd like to see a vote in the comments because I do think in the long run, animated wise, like movies, Disney beats them. But mind you, Harry Potter is a massive ass property.
Yeah.
Anyways,
you brought in wrestling. I had to bring in that. So now it is time.
I think
I'm actually excited. That was one of the last.
This is not going to a draw, and I'm not going to defend you at all here. So
and this is hilarious that this is the last category.
Do not attempt to defend my choice, okay?
Okay.
Because I'm not going to give you this one.
Go ahead.
I think what you have here is potential. It's just on the table, raw potential. The product is far superior. The writing has picked up tenfold. The company has far more stars. The pipeline is much deeper. I just feel like on paper, WWE, sure, but AEW right now as a product shows the potential to be absolutely massive.
So, if it weren't for WWE in 1985 creating a little show called WrestleMania and taking wrestling to a worldwide audience, we wouldn't have gotten the Monday Night Wars. We wouldn't have an AEW. We wouldn't have the competition we have right now. Vince, say what you will about what kind of a human being he is. Put that aside. His business mind in terms of taking a niche product at the time that was meant for carnivals and sideshow attractions and taking it to, I would say, a legitimate business and franchise and taking it to the world. You have to give it to WWE. Like some of the greatest stars of all time have, like, some of the most recognizable names of all time have come through the WWE. Hogan, Savage, Steamboat, even Ric Flair came through the WWE for a while. You have George the Animal Steele, Andre the Giant, like Roddy Piper, Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, like their track record speaks for itself. Say what you will about the product now, but the product now is a piece of garbage and it's in the toilet. I agree with that. But in terms of what a company did and to take wrestling to where it is now, the credit has to go to WWE.
So I'm going to sit here and knock that simply. Jim Crockett Productions, WCW towards the end of the 80s. And without NWA, there's no WWE.
AWA. AWA.
Yes, okay. But listen. There was AWA and WWF.
Merged.
Okay. And in the transformation into WWF, that what it became with Vince, the NWA as an organization, even though at that point it wasn't its own really company, but it was carrying the weight of many of the territorial companies with their titles. It was all going through this like legitimate thing. WWE chose to be its own separate thing. And I think it suffered from that. I think, yes, they produced stars there, but they did it by using steroids and specifically manipulation. Yes, I'll give Vince McMahon credit for being smart, but he got everywhere he was by being a cheater. He was losing to WCW, so he bought the competition. They struggled through the whole 90s. That product was not very good in the mid 90s. They really leaned on JCP and NWA and even ECW for a period of it to get them out of the dirt, because WCW's product was just blazing them. And it's not to say what you're saying is wrong. Obviously, what you're saying is right. I just think there's more variables on the table than to just let it be WWE is the be all and end all, especially when you look at their overall product from start to finish. How many years were they actually good compared to how many years they were bad? Yes, they were the peak of civilization, but it's because they were the only ones in civilization.
Okay, so, they're resting on their laurels now.
I feel like what AEW is doing is the same thing that many companies have done throughout the years, including WWF, where you came in, took a thing that already existed, but you attached a different product there to try and go in a different direction and win the market. And I think they reverse Attitude Era WCW or WWE at the moment, where WWE created the Attitude Era to go against what was kind of getting grittier WCW.
An invasion type angle, I guess, in WCW.
So WWE's, I mean, AEW's comeback to that was, let's make a grittier product that's lives to what people remember wrestling being good as. And I just think, yes, obviously they're still at the top of the mountain,
the food chain, yeah.
But not really, because
they were just bought out by Endeavor.
Tony Khan is worth more than Endeavor is on his own.
Yeah,
he doesn't. So him and his father, without their corporation, just personal assets, are worth more than WWE and whatever Endeavor. That company's Endeavor. So, and I think the product is far superior. And I know that could be half of the argument, but I think that wins half the argument.
In terms of product, I kind of have to agree with that. I mean, mind you, we did have a pretty decent WrestleMania weekend.
We did, and we're going to have a pretty decent Forbidden Door weekend. Putty, open up that variable, sweetheart.
Yeah, let's see what's in that variable.
Here's my thing. I had trouble with the variable. Here's the reason why. Should I go based on my favoritism or based on what is good around this thing? Well, I mean, it stems from that. So here's my thing. Before I open up this variable, all right? Right now, if you guys were to pick variables against WWE and AEW, what would you put? And that's all together, all around.
New Japan Pro Wrestling, the far superior company to both of those companies.
To both of those products.
And it's been around for 50 years. It's been around longer than WWE.
It's funny because I was going to put that in here, but then I didn't. Okay.
Well, then you're wrong.
But then I'm wrong. So I agree with you on that, because I was warning about Impact. But yes, Campo is right. I decided to go on my laurels and my favorite. So when I heard you guys say it, I said it's time to open it, but I figured I'd wait a little bit. Yes. So
let's team on this one together. Okay. I think that there's a period in history, I want to say between 1990 and like 1997, maybe very early 98.
I would say 98,
where WCW was absolutely eating WWE alive.
The peak of wrestling.
And we got the NWO, which completely, like nothing else, changed the entire face of wrestling forever. Because now the biggest faction in wrestling is Bullet Club, which is completely derivative of the NWO.
They're even doing the whole split now too,
which is crazy. And I think you had Sting. I think Sting is very underappreciated. When I make this argument to people at work about like who are some of the greatest wrestlers, and I say Sting, and they go, "No, Sting doesn't belong there." Okay, well,
no, Sting absolutely belongs
not
there.
Not only is he very skilled, but he's completely changed and adapted to every era of wrestling and always stayed at the top. He was always at the peak of wrestling, no matter what. And
even when he was in Impact, he was still at the top.
He had 3 finishers. He's one of the coolest guys out there. Then you can make the argument for Ric Flair, probably maybe the greatest wrestler of all time.
Even now, you can make the argument for, well, I mean, like even when Jericho first started there, you could already see the seeds of his greatness.
Dean Malenko,
Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, the cruiserweight division,
the cruiserweight division, being the company that first popularized, not the first ones that did it, the first ones that popularized taking wrestlers from Mexico and Japan and putting them in your face and not explaining why the hell they're there.
Yeah. And what made this company, WCW, so successful in the end also led to their downfall, I think, because when they first started, they started getting a little bit of talent from Mexico. Then they grabbed a couple guys from WWE, and then they had something there, and they were going really well with it. Throw in a couple of homegrown talents in there. But then they started picking exactly Disco Inferno. But then they started picking too much, and then the roster got bloated because they started signing guys just so WWE wouldn't have them.
I have a question for you.
Like Mike Awesome, for example, and he was completely wasted in WCW.
They also they went too heavy, I think, on pulling because they took people from ECW as well as other companies, period. But I have a question for you. Are Joe Hendry and Fandango the new Alex Wright and Disco Inferno?
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. They're best friends now.
Yeah, I love it.
And you throw Santino
Dirty
into the mix
Dango. If we could just get Santino Marella and Dalton Castle in that group.
We got welcome to State of Wrestling for.
No, but I think it's an argument to be made that if you're gonna go just what's powerful, WWE wins, and I think JD takes that. But if you're gonna go for product, in the amount of years that we've had
current
AEW
product,
compared to what they've given us, it's pretty crazy. But in my opinion, if it's only between these three, that 7 or 8 year period of WCW is the peak of wrestling. It does not. It will never reach
up
that
until
ever
now.
Again.
Up until now, I think this at where we are right now in the climate of pro wrestling. I think this is the best with so much good competition out there. Not just competition, but I'm talking about good competition out there. You have AEW, and now they have Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor is doing really well. They have crossovers with New Japan. And Impact is now finding their stride and doing crossovers with New Japan as well. I feel that it's the smaller companies ganging up now on the big company to take it down.
And it makes sense because, like you said, you have Impact, you have Ring of Honor, you have AEW, you have MLW, you have GCW, you have AAA, you have CMLL, you have Pro Wrestling Noah, All Japan, New Japan Wrestling, Stardom. DDT, Australian wrestling companies like Melbourne are getting really big. You have Rev Pro, you have ICW. Like the independent scene is getting more. It's getting more popular, and they're becoming legitimate.
Thanks to the
companies.
internet now, with the internet too, it's more accessible than ever.
Yeah.
So stuff that before was like, holy geez, I went to this indie show. You should have seen this match between so and so and so and so. Now you can.
Now you can see so and so on AEW as well because those independent wrestlers show up on all of those smaller markets except
they'll show
WWE.
Up on Dark. They'll show up on
they'll
Dark
be on
Elevation.
Impact. They'll show up on New Japan for like a weekly show on New Japan Strong. So
just look
are you satisfied with our argument?
Like look at Nick Gage, how just that one pizza cutter incident made him a household name.
Yeah.
But first, I'll say this right now. I'm loving it, and I'm noticing right now since we went through all of them, they're pretty much tied to where we have to go to the viewers for those.
You know what? No. I want to ask you, based on the arguments, you pick a winner, and then we'll let the audience.
Especially with this one.
Yeah, but you know I'm gonna go. I'm sorry. I'm
so
going
go
WCW.
with go with it.
I'm
but
going
are you going for it based on the argument or based on your pure?
No. I agree, because the thing is, when WWE and WCW back when, like, you know, it was very lowbrow, like they were doing, like, you would get like the Saturday night shows, and it was pretty much it. There was no Raw, nothing like that. You would get the Saturday night and NBC going back to Universal. You know what I mean?
Sunday Night Heat.
Yeah, exactly. You get those, but then WCW was always one of those ones where it felt syndicated, it felt more underground. You know, and it's one of those things like, oh, I got to catch you in the morning at a weird time because it doesn't have the big network companies to it. And that was back when Sting, before he did that, he had the, you know, just across the eyes and stuff like that. And then the buzz cut. My point to the whole thing is this. That's what made WCW feel so thing. It was always, for me, it was always as a kid, you're like, you want the more gritty thing. And that's the reason why, even though Marvel, I feel like the reason I picked Marvel is because at the time it felt more grittier than DC. And that's how I feel about WCW. At the time of WWE, it was the grittier, it was Sonic to WWE in my eyes. You know what I mean? It was the more edgy, the more, you know, so of course WWE's like, we got to step up our game because WCW is doing this over here. But again,
or we just buy them out.
Exactly. But that's my point. I really enjoyed the run that WCW had, that I've always felt it deserved the credit. And a lot of people that watch wrestling now don't even know it exists sometimes. And that's what's hurtful. It's like, I hate that WWE just basically said, oh, we'll give you hints of ECW and nothing like that. But we don't talk about WCW. That's the bad.
No, and I think we even missed something. I think people underestimate, and first of all, I think your arguments were really good, Putty. I think you beat our argument even. But I think people forget how stupidly popular Goldberg was. Like, Goldberg was arguably at that time equally as famous as Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, he was just like ripping through the universe of, like, even people who didn't watch wrestling knew who Goldberg was.
You got to remember, he literally went out of his way to make fun of him. Yeah, they literally went out of his way to make fun of him by making a character called Gilbert.
Gilbert is the greatest parody character of all time.
But that's my whole point, though. Even though I loved it too, I never was mad about it. When I got older, it made me more appreciate it. It was like, oh, they were scared of what Goldberg was doing over there. You know what I mean? As far as the impact of making. Gilbert. But yeah, so for me, yes, it would definitely be WCW. Hands down, there's nothing that's really gotten that feeling for me, that rush, that excitement of it being excited to see the wars. You know what I mean? Monday Night Wars they will never have that again. That's the sad part. I don't feel like we'll ever have that moment.
We have Monday to Wednesday Night Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
We have all week wars now.
Well, actually, we have Friday Night Wars.
Yeah, there you
go. That's the
true.
only problem is Rampage sucks.
So what do you so far? I got to ask a question for you guys. What do you guys think of the concept of Battle Lock? Do you think this is a good show? I think
you better just keep doing it because it was very entertaining for me.
Yeah, I had a good time with this, Putty.
I will say this one thing though. There's a problem. Sometimes when I'm doing shows, I tend to not have other ideas to go with those. So we're going into overtime, and I have 2 more envelopes. But the problem with these is I have not seen the variables. The variables that are here, I put in here based on what I think people and stuff online I looked up. So the A and B I know very well, but the variables for both these I don't know.
Okay, so I think hold on.
But before we get off the wrestling topic, I just got to say something. I think the fear Vince had by selling to Endeavor was he didn't want to end up WCW'd.
I think so, he's right. Yeah.
And it makes sense.
He was afraid that the Khans were going to do a hostile takeover of the company, and he sold to Endeavor as a panic maneuver.
They're probably still going to buy Endeavor now. So just, a thing with this round, because I feel like we went into this completely tied. Actually, you have the Disney point, so he's beating me 1-0 to tie 3 ties. Somebody has to win this, Putty. You cannot let this end in this high.
Okay, all right.
And I'm picking first because I'm losing.
Go ahead.
I want A.
No, it's set 5 or 6. You gotta look at the number on top. Sorry.
Oh, I can't even see them. 5.
5's on top. Okay. All right, here we go. Remember, I don't even remember what's in these either. So there's the variable. I'll even put it right here just for the fun of it since it's the bonus rounds. All right.
X Hamster versus the Hub.
So since Campo you picked, we'll go ahead and let you pick A or B.
B.
All right. And then you got A. So
I'll get A.
Yeah, actually, let's go ahead and open up JD's now. right. So,
Okay, so
JD.
this is we're changing the rules right now. So
Okay.
you open up his first. Always, you open up the person who didn't pick. You can change but you're not allowed to see what the other envelope is. So like if he pulls out something now, this is the only time you can swap.
I can swap it. Okay, I can agree to that. I can agree to that. Oh,
Do you keep that?
No,
I know
I'll
it's
give
in
that
the
away.
other one. I know it's in
I'll
the
give it
other
away.
one.
I'll give it away. I'll give it away.
Oh, you guys might want to swap after you find out what it is.
I
I
hope
think
Star
JD,
Trek.
I think Campo knows.
I know what it is. It's Star Trek. I'm so upset.
He predicted it. Yep.
I was either that or Doctor Who. And I wanted both of those. All right. Okay, you get Star Trek. That's fine.
Oh, there you go.
Which is perfect timing because as of this recording, I just watched the Picard finale. It was the most
Don't tell me.
No, I'm not going to say it, but it was the most heartwarming series finale, not just to Picard, but to TNG in general. Star Trek over Star Wars. I mean, you don't have Star Wars without Star Trek. Space exploration, alien people, like different aliens on one starship. You have a Vulcan and you have like different people, political intrigue, Starfleet, Star Trek, just it's, to me, Star Trek, as much as I love Star Wars, I wouldn't have gotten into Star Wars if I hadn't watched Star Trek. And I would have to say Star Trek in terms of like writing, longevity, quality has been outdoing Star Wars completely. As much as I love episode 4 to 6 and some of the expanded universe novels, Star Trek in terms of longevity, like you have the original series, you have the Next Generation, you have Voyager, you had Picard now. Strange New Worlds is another one that I've absolutely fell in love with thanks to you. It's just all encompassing. The movies were fantastic. Generations is a great movie. First Contact is a good movie. Like even the Kelvin universe have been good movies. Like I can't find anything bad to say about Star Trek, whereas I can always find something bad to say about Star Wars.
Well, here's
as much as I love Star Wars.
Here's the thing. Star Wars has 3 movies. That ever were made. They never made any more movies. And those 3 movies are absolutely iconic. They changed the entire face of science fiction. They caused Star Trek to decide maybe we should start doing stuff again because we've been a failure for so long and maybe people want to see space stuff.
We wouldn't have the Next Generation if we didn't have the Star Wars films.
There's Jedis. And I think pop culture wise, I think Star Wars is so important. And I think right now, consistency, the Star Wars TV universe is really strong. And Star Trek has had its struggles since Deep Space Nine. I mean, well, Voyager's debatable. A lot of people don't like Voyager. I think Voyager's pretty good, but I think Enterprise is dog shit.
It was very slow paced and boring. I don't
remember what came after Enterprise, but it's also not good.
I don't think there was anything until Discovery.
Discovery's not very good. The first 2 seasons of Picard are awful. I guess season 3 is good. I think without Star Wars, the science fiction genre doesn't get pushed as far as it does now, as it is now, because it kept it popular and it kept it in a space where it felt like this is okay, this is cool, people can watch this, where Star Trek always felt like it's perverse is not the word. It felt
more
like
niche,
taboo.
more underground.
Yeah, it felt like something like that's not okay. Like Star Trek is not okay.
You love Star Wars, oh, you're cool. You love Star Trek, oh, you're a nerd.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, there's obviously only 3 movies that they've ever made in Star Wars, which I understand, but those 3 movies are really good.
They are, but the longevity, though, like
the longevity of Star Wars is still going.
Right, but had to do a full on, I guess you could say, when they were bought out by Disney, they had to do a full on reboot. And in terms of multimedia, if we're just going on shows and movies, like I would say Star Trek would have to, if we're going outside of that media, then you'd have to.
If we're going raw product, Star Wars is better. Like just raw product. And
merchandising, toys, books,
but
games.
This is a question I have for you. The future of both of these franchises, what feels safer, Disney or Alex Kurtzman?
At the moment,
if you say Alex Kurtzman, I'm gonna shut this video call off.
I will until they get rid of Kathleen Kennedy. It's Alex Kurtzman.
I don't know.
Right
I think he's just as bad, if not worse.
I don't know. I mean, there are already talks of another show.
Yeah, but when he's directly hands-on involved with things, it doesn't work. He's not involved on Picard season 3. That's why it's doing well. He's not involved in Strange New Worlds.
No, it's what's his name from the guy who did the showrunner from 12 Monkeys there.
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but it's him.
But he's going to be doing. He's going to be doing the next show as well.
Okay, and that's fine. It's whenever they have let him get involved, whenever Alex is involved, stuff goes wrong.
No, I forgot the guy's name. The guy who did the 12 Monkeys TV series. He's handling. He's handling. It's still not official yet, but it's Star Trek Legacy. It's still in development. It's still in the air. But if you watch the season finale of Picard, you can understand where it's going.
How do you open the variable?
Okay, so I was wondering about if you guys are calling upon that. So here's my thing. When I did the variable, you actually just brought up one that I didn't even think about. And I'm like, oh, I should have changed my variables. So the reason I picked this, it was very popular on list, and I never watched it, or the only few things it did, but it was very big when it came to Star Wars and Star Trek fans. Don't know why, but I haven't seen it yet. So I decided I put it on this list, but I figured maybe Doctor Who might be there too, but it's not Doctor Who, guys. What I have here is the Serenity Firefly situation.
Yeah, so that's Star Trek and Star Wars over Serenity Firefly.
Oh yeah, any day.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest with you, and I don't think you made a bad choice. I think the internet would tell you that.
Yes, that's why I'm asking you.
I don't understand the hype of Firefly. I don't get it.
I don't understand the hype of Joss Whedon.
I mean, Buffy was pretty good.
Yeah, Angel was okay the last season, but
it's like I never got it. Like the movie was okay, but like I never got the love of the show. If anything, I would have said like Red Dawn or Babylon 5.
Babylon 5, yeah. Andromeda.
Well, see, I was also thinking about like stuff like was not Sequest, but like not Sequest, but
Battlestar
Galactica. Battlestar Galactica. Yeah,
what's the other? What's the one I'm thinking of? Quest. No.
The Visitors.
And they go to Egypt. There's a movie, Stargate.
I just thought of when you just said that, I just thought of it. I go,
there is a Stargate reboot coming, isn't there?
Well, see, when I was making this, I wanted to think of the whole thing of having TV shows and movies as well. So when that popped up, but they didn't put that on there, and I agree.
Hey, like, you're not wrong. I could imagine that show popping up on everything.
But there were 3 Stargate spinoffs,
and there was the movie.
I know. And that's what I'm saying. I agree. I like Stargate, even Battlestar Galactica. These feel like they have more impactful things, but they went on these lists.
I find the Serenity Firefly series, that's a very niche underground. They have it,
but in those sci-fi communities, it would be popular.
Yeah,
where he's gonna get those lists from, that would be popular.
Yeah. Good point.
I would argue more for Doctor Who on that one, but.
And I regret I didn't do that. You know, I was taking more space.
I really had to dig deep for this argument, and I can already tell you that my argument was far weaker, and I don't deserve this win.
You want to give him the Star Trek, don't you?
His argument was way better. I can't argue for Star Wars because I do in the long run also think Star Trek is superior to Star Wars.
Okay. That's the reason why
I think. Just to not to argue against my own point, but I've already lost now. I think Star Wars made 3 not good movies with the prequels. I mean, one of them's fine. And then they also made 2 not good movies with the sequels. And then nobody likes Solo except for me.
The only good one was Rogue One.
I will say this, going back to Solo, because I always liked Donald Glover. I think for me, what it was, I couldn't get used to the kid playing Solo.
I like Solo.
But I'm saying this
I'd
now,
like
I
to see
like
a
it now,
Donald
going
Glover
back.
standalone Lando series.
Apparently,
I
we
want
might
that
be
so
getting
badly.
it. Apparently,
That
we
I
might be
want.
getting it.
That I'll take. That I'll take.
But it's
So
like I'm not opposed to Star Wars. I like Star Wars. Like I'm not a super fan of Star Wars. We already know this, but
Yeah.
I think if you're gonna go just consistency, there like
If you're gonna go mainstream, yeah, absolutely.
the heights that Star Wars reached, and maybe even the quality of some of the shows or movies, Star Trek probably can't meet. But for overall consistency, for how many years it's been around, Star Trek is pretty up there. Star Trek has like 2 bad movies out of like 12.
Mm-hmm.
And they have arguably really only one bad show, which is Discovery.
The Enterprise is still watchable. I can agree to that.
Well, see, this is exactly the point. You guys kind of did the opposite I was actually hoping to do, but at the same time, I'm very happy this happened. When Battle Locked concept was coming into play, I thought of the whole idea because I knew you like Kip, I knew you like Star Trek better, and I know you like Star Wars better. Not like over exceeding, but like you know what I mean, the love like I do when it comes to Star Wars, that kind of thing. And so I felt it was a great debate going through. It flipped on me where you guys came in, and that is great. And that makes me
we did a show and threw a wrench into it.
Exactly. And that's what I want this game to be all about, which brings me into the last one. We have one more, if you see there, that I put into play. And again, the variable on this one I am not familiar with. Now, this one I was going more of a magical escape, if you so will. So, but not really magical in the way sense of.
Don't guess. I just want to see it.
Okay, let's just go into it. I think it's
Doug Henning versus David Blaine.
Well, I was thinking more.
Ooh.
When I was saying magical, I was thinking more, the thing. So here's the thing.
I already know what it is, but like just
and the variables, Chris Angel, Mind Freak.
So A and B. What I'm gonna do. How are we gonna do this? I don't know. Just someone say a letter. Just
Campo, you picked. This is yours, so you pick.
Well, I've already lost, but I'll take B.
B. All right.
So it's up to you whether you want to keep it or trade it away.
Yes. No. Is it up to me?
Yeah. Because I did remember I swapped Star Wars on you.
Yeah. So you'll do it for this one, okay? All right. So for yours, it's going to be
come on, Harry Potter.
Lord of the Rings.
Swap.
Yeah,
I want Harry Potter. JD's like, no.
Okay.
I knew it.
So here it is. The other one is Harry Potter. Campo, you got Harry Potter. You have Lord of the Rings.
Hey, I love both franchises, so I can't
hate
go
Lord
wrong.
of the Rings, so we're already good here.
All right. So who wants to start?
Campo, you go.
I mean, Harry Potter, the face of an entire generation. Maybe not your guys' generation, but not mine either, really. I hated Harry Potter as a kid. I mean, you have one of the highest selling book franchises of all time. You have one of the highest selling movie franchises of all time. A pioneer in changing the game of fantasy and bringing it to a new place where we are now. It's spawned such huge things as theme parks to the point that the movie franchise is kind of being forced to continue because people want more. And I think the quality throughout this entirety of the franchise has been great in all aspects. The toys, the games, one of the best video games that's been around.
I just 100%ed it.
He just 100%ed it because he loves it so much. And Shadow of Mordor is nothing to scoff at, but I mean, it's no.
But Harry I will Potter. Bring up Lord of the Rings: The Third Age on the PS2.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings, the Lego game was quite good too, but Harry Potter, the Lego game, is also good. So
any Lego game is really actually good. But...
I just think, and then franchising worldwide box office numbers, I think it's hard to compete with the Harold Potter. Harold Potter.
Okay, on that. The deepness of the lore in Lord of the Rings, a franchise that only recently, within the last 25 years, has been brought to the screen. But in terms of books and stories and the first age, the second age, and the third age, the story of Sauron, the story of how the elves came to be, how the halflings became the hobbits, and all that. There's so much backstory to Lord of the Rings that they can continue. Say what you will about the Amazon TV series, which I actually enjoyed. I didn't think it was all that bad. when Peter Jackson came out with those films, that's something we have never. High fantasy has rarely been done on the screen like that before. And I can argue that if we didn't have the Fellowship of the Rings, we may not have had a Harry Potter, because high fantasy at the time was never brought to the screen.
Objection.
Harry Potter.
Objection.
99. They both came out the same year.
2001's Dungeons and Dragons movie.
The Wayans one.
Yeah, that's listen.
Is that the variable? No, I'm kidding.
No, I think if you're gonna go high fantasy as being the kickoff point, I think you forget 1978's Lord of the Rings, the animated movie, which is far superior to the new trilogy.
Really, the Rankin and Bass one, The Hobbit, that was actually pretty good.
Pretty good. It's not as good as the three movies, but it existed. I think a big issue they have with Lord of the Rings is you're pulling from something that's final. He doesn't exist anymore. There's no more lore to be built off this. You're creating your own lore. And I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, fan bases matter, but I think it does, because the level of rabidness in the Lord of the Rings fan base over something where people weren't the ones who grew up with that book. It's based solely on the movies, where Harry Potter, the people who love it, love the books and the movies. They love all of it. The people who watched Lord of the Rings then went and read the book, probably not even knowing the book ever existed.
See, I've read the books before I watched the movie.
They didn't have movies in your time.
And I'll be honest, I never read a Harry Potter book.
Neither did I, but that's not the point. I think when you're looking at it all in, like, it's hard to deny what there is. And I think the biggest knock that you can really put on me in terms of a franchise is J.K. Rowling, and who cares about her? Yeah. And the fact that, the prequels are not very good. Yes, but also the 3 prequels for The Lord of the Rings are absolutely dog poop.
Yeah, they weren't very good either. I can agree to that.
And the Hobbit book is not nearly as good as Lord of the Rings.
No, absolutely not.
But it's still good.
I would argue to this day, The Two Towers is still one of the greatest works of high fiction there is.
I will argue to this day that The Two Towers is still the best movie in that franchise. And should have won the Oscar. I think Prisoner of Azkaban, though, when it's all said and done, the quality of that series as a unified piece is great. But when you just isolate the third movie, I think there's something that even you have to admit is very special about this. That's where it turned a corner, and Harry Potter became
that's where the
everyone.
Potter franchise took off. Absolutely. I can totally agree to that. It stopped being for
kids. It became for everyone.
As soon as you cast Gary Oldman, you had me.
Yeah, it became darker, and it was less about like the child aspect of it. Where they were,
I think with Harry Potter too, to argue your point here, I think with Harry Potter is you grew up with them. Like, you saw them as kids till they reached adulthood. You know what I mean? So you grew up along with these characters. Yeah, so I can argue your point there.
Lord of the Rings is a thing where it garnered popularity as the movies came out. Prior to that, no one ever came to me and was like, hey, have you read the Lord of the Rings book? It's quite good.
I don't have 17 years.
And yes, okay, we can obviously say it's like the Star Trek argument, right? I was going to pull Valerian on you, but I realized Valerian came out a year after Star Trek, the original series. Yes, Lord of the Rings has been around for many years, but Dungeons and Dragons was the iconic thing for an entire decade.
But Dungeons and Dragons was based off some of the lore.
Understood, right? But it's like, and I can't argue that point, but I can argue that high fantasy was brought to life through Dungeons and Dragons before the Lord of the Rings movies hit, which is how everyone knows Lord of the Rings, which I rest my case.
Well, okay, see, but we sitting here on not bringing in a variable, and here's my thing. I actually don't know how much you guys know about this as well.
Bring in the variable.
I know. So here's the variable. I don't know nothing about it. I figured the whole idea of this was the whole thing was books adapted into media. And it's also about bringing in creatures like, I don't know, dragons.
Jules
so
Verne.
I put the variable as And I want to know what you guys
what
think.
happened here is Game of Thrones is better than all of these.
Than
things.
everything combined.
We can just
I've
turn this
still
off.
not seen it. That's the reason I'm asking. I've actually not seen it yet. I know I need
you're
to see
right.
it,
But at the same time, there's a difference. Harry Potter is magical, like magical fantasy, and I think that lives in a different place than what Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones are, which is like a high fantasy. But Game of Thrones leans more into the realistic spot in between, where yes, there's dragons, but they're all kind of humans. There's no orcs or like dwarves or elves.
There's no non-human.
There's no magic really like that we know about, except for like night is dark and full of terrors.
Well, then I pose this question for you guys. The whole idea, because you got to think, these all stem from books where it feels like the whole dragon, the whole knight's lore really had a really big, idea, both with Lord of the Rings, with even Harry Potter in some ways, even though, I even saw online a video said that Harry Potter is basically just Star Wars with wands. And it's a really funny video. I'll send you guys.
No, I know. I've seen the video.
Yeah. But the point I'm making to the whole thing is with these three things, they have that whole idea of that knight or that magical world or that world where dragons and other creatures do exist. But then I didn't know
coming together to battle a bigger evil.
Yeah, exactly, kind of situation. But it's
and
more,
also, let's remember that Harry Potter gave us Emma Watson, and I'll take prime Emma Watson over prime Liv Tyler any day. But not prime Orlando Bloom. He wins.
He wins hands down.
He wins hands down. Maybe even prime Peter Dinklage wins. But
Viggo Mortensen. I can't walk. I can't home. Shout out to Carlito's Way.
I'm gonna throw a knock at the having the variable at all because he still didn't even finish writing the books.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if
we're still waiting on book 7.
What would you say variable? So then what would you say the variable in this situation between Harry and Potter and
I think it is Game of Thrones. I think that Game of Thrones, out of fairness to keep our two arguments just what they are, because I think we're both going to agree that Game of Thrones.
We're still waiting for the actual proper ending in the book.
Game of Thrones we don't even really know where it's actually going. So we can't really, I don't want to throw.
And House of the Dragon. Whew.
Yeah, House of the Dragon is fire. Yeah. Shout out to Millie Alcock. But anyways, I
mean, you guys in agreement?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Does Harry Potter win this?
I think Harry Potter wins this.
All right. So I hate the first 2 Harry Potter movies. I did not grow up with them. Now that
that's Chris Columbus, though. Yeah. Once Chris Columbus left.
Yeah, that's right.
It took, and this is not a knock against Chris Columbus.
Was it Inarritu, or was it Cuarón that directed the third movie? Alfonso Cuarón.
I think that was Cuarón that did Prisoner of Azkaban. Yes, it was.
Okay. Anyways, this is a funny part. Are you ready for this? Mm-hmm. I did not even start watching Harry Potter movies until we did the show Flick You. So I had only seen the first 3 movies until like 2016. I hated Harry Potter with a passion. I thought it was the stupidest thing that ever existed. I would have easily took Lord of the Rings over that any day. But like, you want to know what bothers me about Lord of the Rings? I hate the fan base. I hate my friends that like Lord of the Rings. I just like, there's something about the people
almost Snyder-esque.
The conversation that comes up when you talk about Lord of the Rings is not fun. It turns into like this dumb conversation all the time, and I hate it. Like, Harry Potter is just always fun. There's nothing not fun about Harry Potter.
It's more welcoming, more encompassing, more.
Yeah. And mind you, unless you're the writer of the books, but
no, but I mean, Harry Potter fans will always welcome Harry Potter fans. You know what I mean? Like, and they'll welcome other. Because they know what came before Harry Potter and what influenced Harry Potter. You know what I mean?
I don't want to knock too hard on Lord of the Rings because I think the first 3 movies are really good. I haven't seen the show. I hear it's fine. And
it's good. It's okay. It's good.
You know what? Actually, you know what really, really made me get turned off from Lord of the Rings? It was the Hobbit movies. They were so awful. I remember going to the theater to watch the first one and being so disappointed, and then being like, okay, the second one's going to be better. And I was even more disappointed. And then I was like, okay, the third one's going to be better. And the third one was the worst one. And I was like, what is happening?
Well, it's funny. You bring that up. I have not seen The Hobbit. I actually own the first Hobbit movie. I've not seen it yet. I just bought it because it was like on sale, Black Friday kind of thing. And the reason I haven't touched it is because I've heard so many bad things. And then one of
there's a 15-minute musical number that comes out of nowhere.
Well, let's put it this way. One of our friends in our circle talks about how great Hobbit is, and then literally everyone else is like, you're an idiot for thinking Hobbit's great. And I think you know who I'm talking about. So the whole idea of that, like, I heard it was just like, it was like their prequels, but even worse than the prequels. And like, tell me, am I right or wrong about that?
They're not good.
Okay.
It's one book worth of material stretched across 3 movies.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even when you get to Harry Potter, when you have the split movie at the end, the first one really has nothing in it. It's just a commercial for the second movie. And that's how I feel about Infinity War. Yes, Infinity War is one of the better Marvel movies, but when you look at it at the end of the day, I don't know how anyone could say it's better than Endgame, because Endgame was so much better character arcs and development for these people dealing with this situation that's now happened. Everyone loves Infinity War for that ending where it's like, Mr. Stark. Yeah, but now he's dealing with the repercussions of Mr. Stark. And I'm
going to throw my hat in this one, because here's the thing. Another thing is, I've never felt the excitement or like the, oh my God, I'm like a little kid, edge of my seat. None of these movies have ever done what Endgame did when it came to that moment where he literally gets the hammer, Captain America, and then they're all behind him. And he says, Avengers Assemble.
That's how I felt. That's literally how I felt when he said, "That's America's ass."
I agree. That's another good part. But you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree. The snap on your left. I think there's multiple situations here. A smart Hulk. And I know we're way off topic at this point, but I think if you read comic books, the aspect of Infinity War that everyone likes, which is the dying of everyone, like the emotional weight, wasn't there for me because I knew they're all gonna die. That's literally what happens in the comic book.
Yeah.
So it's like, what were we expecting to happen? We didn't know that this was gonna happen. Of course we did. And I think the people in the second movie having to deal with all of the loss and the fact that it's their fault, they think it's their fault, is much deeper than that 10-minute scene of everyone dying.
But let me ask you this. They didn't show the dusting in the commercials. So I think that might be another reason why Infinity War might be more impactful for people now that I'm thinking about it. Because I agree with you 100%. I feel Endgame's there. But I agree also that I didn't get to feel that, oh my God, they're dying. Like that whole feeling, because we didn't know that was going to, like, we knew that was going to happen because we know the saga.
Yeah, but I can't hang my hat on 10 minutes of a movie.
Well, no, I get that, but that's a 3-hour movie. That's how people are. You got to look at it that way. We as fans, the whole Avengers symbol, we got that because of the movies and the comic books. These people just got that in a sense with the Infinity War with the movies. So they kind of got both. They didn't get the whole, because we've been seeing the word Avengers symbol in the comic books for years now. So to see so many Avengers behind them, and then that key moment, it was beautiful. It was good for people that watched the movies, but for people that were just hardcore Marvel fans, it was way more. It's like Excelsior. It's like that moment where Stan Lee, when you first heard that or seen it in the back of the pages, it was monumental. Infinity War, I feel like is more hurting, and it hits you more like your heartstring. But if you don't know what's going to happen, it may have hit you even harder. And I think that's the reason why some people might feel that way, is because they were knowledgeable.
But I understand that. That's what I'm saying. Okay. But I still can't hang my hat on the emotions you felt in the last 10 minutes of a movie based on the emotions that a movie carried for 3 hours right after it.
Good point. I see what you're saying. Yep. Well, I mean, do you guys have anything you want to add as far as?
Well, I lost clearly. I think we there's a lot of rebuffing of these rules to streamline this we can definitely get done for the next one.
Yes. And I might even break it up into some episodes. So of course, if you guys are seeing this and you're like, oh, why did I see this later? It's a long episode. We might chunk it into some episodes and make it a little bit fun, like, next episode, you know what I mean? So we'll definitely figure it out, but I'll discuss it with you guys. I felt like this was a fun ride and everything. I was excited to do this with you guys, and that's why I had to do it on a Saturday. So we have a lot more power behind it when it came to being entertaining. But we'll definitely sit down, hash it out, and get things going. And maybe we can do reverse and have, when you guys host a new thing, if you guys want to, it's up to you. But anyway, with that being said, I want to make sure everyone in the comments below comment which ones you think should win when it came to each category. Again, we will backtrack to the next episode of Battle Locked and give you guys your votes compared to what they, and maybe you'll give Campo the win this time. That's
if
what
you
guys
have
can
battles you want to see, put it in the
In
comments.
the comments too, yeah.
Yes, exactly. If you think there's two things you want to battle each other and bring in, if you want to bring in a variable as well, do it. Put it in the comments below. We will add it to the game. I want to thank my contestants here, guys. This was fun. I'm so glad you guys did this and everything. And
do you want to play a game?
Exactly. I'll get a little tricycle out next time. We'll do it that way. So, anyway, guys, I am Putty with Battle Locked, first episode, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.